Welcome back, deep divers. Today we're taking a deep dive into Brian Tracy's Master Your Time, Master Your Life.
It really is like a guidebook to success, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Packed with practical strategies for making the most of our time.
Yeah.
And who doesn't need a little help with that, right?
Right from the get-go, Tracy hits us with this powerful idea. The idea of time being the ultimate differentiator.
That's right. He's saying, basically, that successful people, even if they didn't start with a lot of advantages, even if,
Even if the deck was stacked against them,
yeah,
they get so much more done because they understand the power of time.
it's like they found this secret weapon, right?
Right.
Something that gives them this edge.
Amplifies their potential.
Exactly. And one thing I found fascinating was the way Tracy connects this concept to the rise and fall of civilizations.
He talks about how the societies that thrive, the ones that make it, they're not always the most powerful. It's more about how they respond to pressure, how they adapt to those external challenges.
Exactly. An example he uses, the Mongol Empire. That's so striking.
Right. Genghis Khan and his empire. I mean, can you believe it started with just 3 people? It's, well, it just shows what focused action can do.
That really drives home the point.
It does. And speaking of focused action, another big takeaway is how successful people prioritize planning.
Strategic planning.
Right. And goal setting. They see that as a crucial use of their time.
And the stats back this up, don't they?
Yeah. The book mentions this startling fact. Something like 85% of wealthy people,
Wealthy individuals, yeah.
right, they have this major goal that they're always working towards, but only 3% of poor people do.
So clearly, having a vision, a plan, knowing where you're headed, that's a huge part of it.
Absolutely. It's about taking those vague wishes and turning them into, well, actual goals you can chase after.
Tracy also talks about this concept of first-generation wealth. It's this idea that, most millionaires, billionaires, they're self-made.
So it's not all about inheritance. It's inspiring, really. It means anyone can achieve success if they're willing to put in the work.
Absolutely. And Tracy lays out this powerful 7-step formula for achieving goals. He starts with desire. You have to really want it.
And you got to believe you can do it. Belief is key.
Right. Then he says, write it down.
Seems simple, but it's like, it makes it real.
It's like a contract with yourself, right?
Exactly. And then you have to make it measurable. Like, how will you know you're on the right track?
Milestones, right? Specific targets.
And deadlines. Can't forget those.
Deadlines create that urgency.
Yeah.
And then Tracy says, think about potential roadblocks. Don't let them surprise you.
Be prepared. It's not about getting discouraged. It's about finding solutions before you even hit those obstacles.
Love that. And of course, the final step, the most important one.
Take action. All the planning and dreaming is useless if you don't actually do something.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Tracy introduces this millionaire maker formula.
Ah, yes. This is all about visualization.
Imagine your goals as already achieved. It's almost like watching a movie of your success.
And the idea is you do this consistently, and it starts to program your subconscious mind.
Like planting a seed and nurturing it. Okay, so we've talked about setting goals, but what about all the distractions in our modern world?
Right. Technology, it's amazing, but
But it can be a double-edged sword.
it can. Especially all those electronic interruptions. Email, notifications, texts. It's a pandemic.
And it definitely impacts productivity. Think about it. How often do you check your email every day?
Too many times. Tracy says the average adult checks their email 145 times a day. That's just crazy.
No wonder we feel scattered. So he talks about this idea of work time versus playtime.
Boundaries. We need those. We have to be intentional about when we engage with technology and when we disconnect.
And this leads into another interesting point, the importance of your personal brand.
It's more than just your job title. It's how people see you, your reputation, your work ethic.
And Tracy says it's really about projecting both warmth and competence.
Warmth means being likable, someone people trust. Competence means being good at what you do. Reliable.
Research shows that if people perceive you as both warm and competent,
That's the sweet spot. That's when you're seen as valuable.
it boosts your chances of success for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about some practical tips. Tracy's a big fan of lists.
Making lists.
It helps you get clear on what needs to be done, you know? And it frees up mental space. No more trying to remember everything.
You just get it all down on paper.
Exactly. And then to prioritize those tasks, he talks about the ABCDE method.
Oh, I love this one. A, tasks the most important. Those things that have major consequences if you don't do them.
Right. B tasks are a little less urgent. And C tasks, well, if they don't get done today, it's not the end of the world.
So you focus on those A tasks first,
Yep.
get the big stuff out of the way.
Absolutely.
And Tracy also recommends identifying your 3 most important tasks for each day,
Your top 3. The ones that will move the needle.
and then really laser focus on those. No distractions.
I mean, it sounds simple, but it can be hard to do. But if you can manage it, it's powerful.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget about the importance of continuous learning.
Self-improvement. Always be growing.
Tracy suggests asking yourself this really powerful question. Why am I on the payroll?
Right. It makes you think about your role, your value.
It helps you stay focused on the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
He tells this great story about a new employee who asks a seasoned executive for advice.
And the executive's response.
Specialize. Become an expert in one specific skill.
That's it. Become so good at something that you're indispensable.
And then Tracy talks about language. It sounds kind of random,
But it's not. It's all about company culture.
yeah,
It says high-performing companies, they have this language of shared responsibility.
they use words like we, us, our,
Creates a sense of teamwork.
whereas phrases like they, them, their.
It creates distance. It's like, not my problem.
And that can really hurt a team's performance.
It can. All right, let's switch gears for a minute. Let's talk about the 80-20 rule.
The Pareto principle.
Yeah. It basically says that 80% of the results come from just 20% of the effort.
So if you apply that to income,
Often means 20% of the employees are bringing in 80% of the revenue.
Tracy talks about how he discovered this principle early in his career.
It was a game changer for him, made him realize he wanted to be in that top 20%.
And he breaks down the 3 factors that determine your income: the kind of work you do, how well you do it, and how difficult you are to replace.
So basically, specialize, become really good at what you do, and you'll be in high demand.
Okay, let's shift gears again. Let's talk about something fun. Creativity.
Yes. Tracy says it's essential to make time for creative thinking, to come up with those breakthrough ideas.
And get this. He says people have an average of 4 potentially million-dollar ideas every year.
But most people don't do anything with them.
It's amazing, right? All that untapped potential.
And he tells this great story about the origin of Uber.
They were just frustrated trying to find a cab in San Francisco.
And bam, a billion-dollar idea is born.
It just shows, problems can be opportunities in disguise.
Absolutely. Tracy believes everyone has the potential for genius. We all have the ability to solve problems, achieve great things.
And he talks about different levels of creativity, from like adaptive creativity, where you're refining existing ideas.
To innovative creativity, where you're coming up with completely new concepts.
It's exciting stuff. Okay, let's dive into problem solving and decision making.
Yeah, this is another area where Tracy sees a direct link to success.
He says unachieved goals.
They're basically unsolved problems.
And he outlines 4 types of decisions: those that only you can make, the ones you can delegate, the ones you just can't afford to make, and those that are unavoidable.
It's a good framework for prioritizing your decision-making.
Focus on the things you can control.
Exactly, and watch out for what Tracy calls excusitis.
That's the tendency to make excuses instead of taking action.
It's about taking ownership, believing that there's always a solution.
And Tracy recommends asking yourself, why am I not already at my goal?
It forces you to analyze your current situation, identify areas for improvement.
And look at people who have achieved what you want. See how they overcame obstacles.
And sometimes even setbacks can lead to breakthroughs.
Like the story of Alexander Fleming discovering penicillin. It came from a failed experiment.
It just shows you got to embrace those mistakes, those challenges.
Turn them into opportunities for learning and growth, and for effective problem solving. Tracy suggests a pretty straightforward approach.
Define the problem clearly. Brainstorm solutions, keeping in mind the simplest solution is often the best. And then delegate responsibility for implementing that solution.
Set clear deadlines, make people accountable. Okay, let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart: relationships.
Yeah, Tracy really emphasizes the importance of quality relationships. For happiness, for well-being.
He has this great equation: quantity of relationships, X. Quality of relationships, personal success.
So it's about both quantity and quality.
You need both. And he talks about the power of happy memories.
Shared experiences with people we care about, those are the things that matter.
Absolutely. But of course, in today's world, it can be hard to find that balance. Work-life balance.
That's a struggle for a lot of people.
Tracy talks about the importance of setting boundaries, making time for loved ones, making sure work doesn't take over your life.
He tells this anecdote about a successful executive who defines success as having no more difficult people in your life.
Isn't that great?
It's about having the freedom to choose who you spend your time with. Surround yourself with positive people, people who lift you up.
And that's something we all have the power to do.
Absolutely. Okay, I think it's time we shift gears one last time. Let's talk about rest and relaxation. It's so important, you know. In our always-on culture, we tend to glorify busyness, but taking time to recharge, it's not a luxury. It's essential.
I completely agree. It's like hitting the reset button gives your mind and body a chance to recover.
Exactly. Tracy recommends taking at least one full day off every week. Completely disconnect from work.
No checking emails.
Nope. Use that time to recharge, do things you enjoy.
He also talks about the importance of decompression, especially during vacations.
Yeah. It's not enough to just physically be away from work. You got to mentally disconnect too.
Otherwise, you're not really getting a break.
Exactly. And Tracy actually shares some personal stories about how prioritizing sleep and taking vacations has really made a difference in his life.
I love when authors get personal like that. Makes it feel more real.
It does. It shows they're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Right. So we've talked about rest, but what about the different types of energy we have? Mental, physical, emotional.
Tracy talks about that too. He says it's helpful to switch between mental and physical activities, to recharge different energy reserves.
So if you've had a really mentally draining week at work,
Maybe you spend the weekend doing something physical, hiking, gardening, whatever you enjoy.
and vice versa, have you been doing a lot of physical labor?
Maybe you curl up with a good book or work on a puzzle.
The key is to find activities that bring you joy and help you de-stress.
Okay, now let's move into an area that I find particularly intriguing: spiritual development.
This is a big one. It's about finding inner peace, connecting with something larger than yourself.
And Tracy argues that it's just as important as any other aspect of our lives.
Absolutely. He talks about mindfulness, the practice of being fully present in the moment.
Observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment.
Right. And he suggests different ways to cultivate mindfulness. One is to simply say, I am here throughout the day, just bringing your attention to your surroundings.
It sounds so simple, but I can see how that would be helpful.
It is. It's a way to gently pull yourself back to the present moment.
He also suggests visualizing bodies of water, real or imagined.
It's about tapping into that sense of peace and tranquility, like you feel when you're near a lake or the ocean.
I love that. And of course, he recommends spending time in nature, taking mindful walks.
Engage all your senses, appreciate the beauty around you. It's a way to connect with something larger than ourselves. And the benefits of mindfulness are well documented, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Reduced stress, improved well-being, better focus, greater self-awareness.
And you don't have to sit in formal meditation to experience those benefits. You can incorporate mindfulness into everyday activities.
Eating, walking, even doing the dishes. It's about bringing that awareness to whatever you're doing.
So as we wrap up this section on spiritual development,
I think the takeaway here is that taking time for your inner self is not selfish. It's essential for living a fulfilling life.
absolutely. Okay, now I think it's time we transition into the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. What are we tackling next?
Let's talk about the 10 key principles Tracy outlines for mastering our time and ultimately our lives. We'll discuss each principle in detail and explore how we can practically apply them to our daily routines.
Excellent. Let's do it.
So we've talked about a lot of great strategies from master your time, master your life. But let's try to distill it down. What are the 10 core principles that really stand out?
All right. Well, first and foremost, Tracy emphasizes the power of clarity. It's all about knowing what you want to achieve, having those well-defined goals.
Right, so it's like having a roadmap for your life.
Yeah,
Without it, you're just wandering aimlessly.
exactly. And then principle number 2, focus. Once you know what you want, you've got to eliminate distractions and really zero in on those goals.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, for sure. But that's where those boundaries come in. Protecting your time, minimizing those interruptions.
Principle number 3.
Planning. Tracy's a big believer in strategic planning. It's not just about making lists. It's about thinking ahead, anticipating challenges.
And breaking down those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Right. Which brings us to principle number 4, action. It's not enough to just plan. You got to actually do the work.
And do it consistently.
Consistency is key. Principle number 5. All right, what's next?
Yes, integrity. Tracy talks about the importance of living in alignment with your values.
Being true to yourself. Exactly. And that ties into principle number 6, courage. Because sometimes pursuing your goals means stepping outside your comfort zone, taking risks.
Absolutely. And principle number 7,
Excellence. Always strive to be the best you can be in every area of your life.
continuous improvement. Never stop learning and growing.
I love that. Okay, principle number 8, generosity.
Yeah?
Tracy believes in giving back, helping others.
It's not just about achieving personal success. It's about making a positive impact on the world.
Right. And that leads nicely into principle number 9, gratitude. Taking time to appreciate what you have, focusing on the good.
It's so easy to get caught up in the negative, so gratitude is a powerful antidote to that.
It is. And finally, principle number 10, spirituality. Nurturing your inner self, connecting with something bigger than yourself.
It's about finding meaning and purpose in life.
I think that's a great place to wrap things up, don't you?
It is. So, deep divers, as we reach the end of our deep dive into Brian Tracy's Master Your Time, Master Your Life, I hope you found this exploration as enlightening as I have.
It's been a real pleasure sharing these insights with you.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the importance of setting clear goals to the power of mindfulness and the need for rest and relaxation. The key takeaway here: you have the power to shape your time and ultimately your life. So go out there, deep divers, and make the most of it. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.
And keep diving deep.